thank you all for coming out. I'm pleased as punch to be here. So, Sudbury Treasure Map. Francesco gets credit for this title of the talk. He thought it would be sort of a way to pique people's curiosity, and I thought it was wonderful too. But obviously, it is a treasure map because for at least 4 reasons. One, it's a 231-year-old artifact, so that in and of itself makes it a treasure. It's the first comprehensive map of Sudbury, also a treasure. It has a lot of fun historical details. This chestnut on General John Nixon's land is sort of, and fourth, like all treasure maps, it shows you where the treasure is, and I think we'd all agree that both Sudbury and Wayland are treasures. So, as Francesco mentioned, I love maps, and this was a labor of love. And that's why he called me when the map came in, and I came in and I was fascinated by it, and then he mentioned how much it would cost to restore it, and I said, I'll give a talk to help raise money. And here we are. All right, and also here we are trying to collect more treasure. We will have it restored, but preservation is also worthy of funding. There's one seat right in the second row. So the context for this map is the resolve of the General Court of June 18th, 1794, and it basically said, thou shalt create an accurate plan of your town, and it will have all the rivers and water and how much acreage and this and the county roads and the town roads. Lots of details were asked for, including 200 rods per inch, so that all the maps will be the same scale. I'll get back to that. And the deadline of June 1st, 1795, so less than a year to get it done. So this resolve is, so it starts 101, and then the whole next page. So it's like almost 3 pages. Every other resolve in the General Court is like a paragraph, so they really wanted to, get what they wanted to get, I guess. All right, so, so Matthias Mossman is the creator of this map. He also created 4 other maps, and nobody, for what we now call Massachusetts, nobody else created even 2 maps. And there was a guy up in Maine who did 7 maps, but that's technically part of the Commonwealth at that point, but it's remarkable that he did 4 of them. So this is in the left is Ashburnham, which is where he moved just before he made the maps. Lancaster date is May 29th, 1795, so hey, 3 days to spare before the deadline. And then this is the Sudbury map. This is a, so on the left is the Sudbury map. It's a fine arts print available from the gift shop, and it's a very visually pleasing image. This is the original image from the town archives, and we'll come back to that image. And this is the Wayland, or as it was known then as East Sudbury. Yeah. This is the Osgood map. So the state got all of these maps to create a state map. And Osgood worked on it for 6 years and brought this map to the general court. They said no. So he came back in 1803, and that's when we had our first state map. All right, so this is the treasure map, or as it's known in the catalog as 2025.19.1. I think I will call it the Mossman draft map. I promise we'll come back to that image. So the first thing you do when you get some map is see how does it relate to the maps you know. So this is laying the Sudbury map on top of the draft map and then rotating the draft map so it is aligned to the north. So if you look at this outline, this is both Sudbury and Wayland together, which just happens to be the same map as it was in 1776, so 250 years ago. So I made this image last spring, and I was amazed at how well the two towns fit together. And now all is made clear. All right, the high-tech pointing device doesn't work, and I forgot to bring my 90s era pointing device, so I have an antique pointing device here. So this is the Sudbury Meeting House. This is the Wayland Meeting House here. So then this would be the road over the bridge, I think here, and then we come up and we go up to town. Down here is that little Wheeler Farm puzzle piece. And then this is the river. It's not, from a surveying point of view, he didn't distinguish the river from the roads. It's just, and then, so then I was thinking, well, how did he survey the river? Because it's, did he get like a gondola and sort of move through it? But no, he did the Framingham line in October of 1794, so the year before. And he probably did the river in the fall of 1794 too. And at that time, you could walk right up to the edge of the river. You could drive a team of oxen up to the side of the river. The dam in North Billerica had been built and rebuilt, but in 1798, they rebuilt it to have enough water to control the Middlesex Canal. And when they raised it up that high, that permanently flooded the Sudbury grasslands. So, and remember, the English, one of the things they said when they got here was, look at this fertile plain of grasslands. So, there's an effort to bring the Talbot Mill back down, which we'll see. Hopefully that would happen. That would be fun. All right. These are the different blocks of text that Maren and Francesco and are you the third?
No.
And no, okay, sorry. Anyway, thankfully they transcribed it. I have not studied it in detail. Thank you. I've not studied it in detail, except I know that the blocks on the right become the detailed description of the surveying. So this is is starting here between Sudbury and go this direction. It's anyway, the detailed description of how it was surveyed. And then the block below is the description of the town. So the stream of many names and this number of acres and that number of acres.
What do you mean by blocks?
The blocks of text.
Yeah, what's that like, the blocks?
It's like a text box when you're editing. So this is Matthias Mossman drew this of the town of Sudbury was surveyed. This says Sudbury contains 18,030, should say acres there, and so much water. And then these are three, they seem to be written at 3 different times. So that's what I mean by a block of text. So it's just a region of text. This is detailed landmarks surveying the border with Concord, and these are all detailed landmarks surveying the border with Framingham. I flipped it around because some of my previous listeners pointed out that I had the map upside down, but I just can't. This is with Sudbury is Sudbury is west of Wayland, and I just couldn't display it upside down. All right, let's see. Rod and chain. So the state said 200 rods per inch. 200 rods is a little more than half a mile. So it just means that all of the maps were the same size. All of them were about yay big. A rod is 16 and a half feet. So anyway, and so each of these dots here is 10 rods. And then the circles are a change in direction of the line of measurement. And so up here, I have a zoom of the Historical Society's version of the map, and this is the draft map, this area right here. So it's about 10 or 11 dots, if you count the circles as dots. And it's about a third of a mile, so the math comes out to approximately 10 rods per dot, and that makes sense for, if I were making a map, 10 rods per dot would be a good useful way to do that. So, and then just to show that the chains haven't totally gone away, this says 238 rods, 14 and a half links. So a chain was made of links. Chain was 100 links. So a rod is 25 links. So it's anyway.
So they were using actual chain
I
measure.
Yeah, rather than having a 16-foot thing that you would,
Yeah.
I assumed that they were, and maybe more than one chain.
Can I ask a question? You're talking about the map, but
Yeah.
you're talking about a draft map from 1776?
No, that was a map that I made for the Sudbury 250. But it is the same outline as the draft map.
And what is the draft map?
The draft map is the one we have. It's
Yeah, what
it's
is
right in the other room. So,
1795 now. The one in the case is the draft map.
Yeah, we have, so the Historical Society now has the map that Matthias Mossman used to sort of lay out both Sudbury and Wayland, and then he created the Sudbury map and the Wayland map after that.
And those are in the Mass Archives.
Those are in the Mass Archives, yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a, all right. So this is the Framingham line. In the clean map, nice clean map, it just says 73 degrees, 15 minutes southeast, 1457 rods. The line between Sudbury and Framingham was ran October 24th, 1794. You just have to trust me on that. By Matthias Mossman. This is from the draft map. And these are detailed these are detailed landmarks. Black Oak in Parmenter Wall. Chestnut in General Nixon's land. White Oak between Eaton and Brown land. So, I mean, that's valuable information. So that's just, I think that's cool. The East Sudbury map, so I think he didn't do a second draft map for East Sudbury. He just incorporated the landmarks along the way. And I think he did the East Sudbury map in like May 20-something or other, and then he had to go and do the Lancaster map a week later, so he might have been a little more rushed. All right, Matthias Mossman himself, we don't have any no pictures of Matthias Mossman. No pictures of anybody from then unless they were George Washington or Samuel Adams. So his signature will have to do as a stand-in for a picture. And then this is fun. Completed surveying and plotting, P-L-O-O-T, which hopefully translates into plotting. And then is Mossman with one S or two S's? So the creator of the map is M-O-S-M-A-N. The person who's written about in history has two S's. So you learn to live with that. You think that is two S's?
Yeah, I mean, the F was the two S's.
All right, so then it's just mistranscribed in the state archives and things. All right, it's mistranscribed a lot of places. All right, so he thought he was Mossman, not Mosman.
How do you know that he didn't pronounce it Mossman?
Because F's and S's weren't done that way.
The double S.
You assume it's an S, but he might have said Mossman. Maybe he had an impediment.
That's right.
Can you repeat some of what was said, because we can't hear what's being said?
It's not very important.
Some wise guy up in front said maybe it was Mothman with an F, and then that this commonly meant that there were two S's there in. All right. So I'm going to read a paragraph out of the Ezra Stern's History of Ashburnham, 1887. Matthias Mossman, born Sudbury, March 17, 1749, was the son of James Mossman and Elizabeth Balcom. He and Sarah Haynes removed from Sudbury to Ashburnham in 1793. In 1795 and a few succeeding years, he was chosen as an assessor, and the repeated mention of his names in the records supports the voice of tradition that he was an educated, capable man, and that his services were held in high esteem. He was a farmer and a surveyor, and many maps, plans, and outlines of highways neatly executed by him are in the possession of John M. Pratt. He died November 8th, 1819. His wife died September 29th, 1808. Of their 11 children, the eldest was born in Marlborough, 8 in Sudbury, and 2 in Ashburnham. So, what did I take out of that? Where the heck is this collection of John M. Pratt, and where can we find it? Neither the Ashburnham Library nor the Historical Society has an idea of where those papers might be. And then just a little more from Family Search. When Matthias Mossman was born in 1749, his father, James Mossman, was 36, and his mother, Elizabeth Balcom, was 31. He married Sarah Haynes on 7 November 1773 in Sudbury. They were the parents of at least 6 sons and 6 daughters. He died at age 70 and is buried in Ashburnham. So the Matthias is right in the middle of the Sudbury. I mean, not only are there many Mossmans, 11 different Mossman names in Hudson's History of Sudbury. Then Balcom, also very common name in Sudbury. Yeah, so Sarah's mother and father, Rebecca Willis also, Willis Pond, Willis Road. So then Captain Aaron Haynes was the captain of the alarm company on April 17, 1775, which are the people who were too old to be in the militia. They marched up there anyway. As we know, one of the elders lost his life there. Sarah Haynes is also the descendant of Walter Haynes, who was on the original grant from the General Court. He was a town founder. He was probably the first person to move across the river in like 1646 or so, more or less. And then Walter's son, Deacon John Haynes, built a house right next to Walter's that became Fort and became the Haynes Garrison, which was the first part of the Sudbury fight of the King Philip's War. Yeah.
Would you mind, for those who don't know, explaining the Philip's War?
I can't explain the whole King Philip's War.
A little postcode, little stamp.
So the Sudbury fight was that a group of probably mostly Nipmuc warriors came into town. They besieged the Haynes Garrison, then Green Hill, and then who's on our monument is Wadsworth. Right. So Wadsworth, they heard there was going to be trouble. He marched out through Sudbury to Marlborough. He got to Marlborough at like midnight. They said, you're at the wrong place, go back to Sudbury. So then they got back to Sudbury and were drawn into an ambush between Green Hill and Goodman's Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, the Native Americans took the high ground, and unfortunately, the soldiers were at the bottom.
Yeah, no, it was it was it was a brilliant tactical. It was a resounding victory, but it was actually a defeat because, who knows why they thought it was a defeat, but we know that when they returned, they were not all excited about a great victory. And that is going to be 350 years next April 20th. He had a brother who was a doctor, and the Antiquarian Society has 3 of his account books ranging from 1763 to 1820. That would be a gold mine. And they also have a letter of Matthias's from 1780. Matthias knew tragedy. His firstborn son, Mika, born in July of 1774, died September 17th, 1775, almost certainly of the epidemic of the bloody flux, that we would call dysentery today. And then we have Bigelow's burial records, and they name Mossman, no first name, but certainly Mika was buried. And then 10 days later, he lost a sister, and she is also buried. That epidemic, in the month of September 75, Bigelow buried 17 children and 11 adults. And then next month, 11 more people. And that compares with all of 1774, in which he buried only 11 people for the whole year. So that was pretty serious, tragic. He was known as, so he's in Hudson's 3 times as a soldier. He's in the muster roll for Bunker Hill. He's in another place. And then after the war, he's known as Lieutenant Mossman. He's not in the April 17th muster. Was he just there and not left out, or was he, for some reason, somewhere else? This is an assessor slide for the town of Sudbury in 1781. So we have Lieutenant Matthias Mossman right under Dr. Moses and his father James, and then about 10 Maynards. And this is a poll tax, which I think if you were a citizen, you paid a poll tax, or somebody here knows a lot more about this than I do. But he paid 19 shillings, 11 pence. Don't you get if you have 11 shillings, isn't 16 shillings a pound, or?
20 shillings is a pound.
All right, good, thank you. So 19 shillings does make sense. And then his personal estate, he paid 9 shillings and 4 pence. His father had actual real estate, and anyway. All right. So Matthias Mossman wasn't hired to do either of the maps. So this is from the warrant of the 1794 town meeting, Article 3, to see if the town, agreeable to the order of government of the 18th of June last, will appoint some suitable person or persons to take an accurate plan of said town and returned to the secretary's office. At the meeting appointed Caleb Rice and Captain Wheeler to survey the town. Period. Wayland, article to see if the town will cause a plan of the town to be taken agreeable to a resolve of the General Court passed June 18, 1794, or do or act in said affair as the town thinks proper when met. They have a little more detail in their town meeting minutes. The town by their vote chose Messrs. Jacob Reeves and Mr. David Smith to take a plan of the town, or to cause it to be taken, in the cheapest and best manner they can, and lay their accounts before the town for allowance. So,
Yeah, before you leave, with Matthias Mossman's name, is that in front of it? Is that lieutenant?
yes.
So was he in the Revolutionary War?
Yeah. He went to Bunker Hill and other. He's got paid a couple of times in. I didn't go further than
That's
Hudson's.
okay. So he kept his military title then?
Yeah. All right. So this is kind of fun. This is in September. So this is a couple weeks after they sent Rice and Wheeler off to survey the town. This is the town has met properly, then proceeded and called upon the committee for a report chosen to ascertain the center of travel in said town. So either the center of travel is a metaphor for the map as a whole, or maybe this is travel is trouble, and this is something that's causing trouble in town. Anyway, who reported and said that part of said committee had met, and after a considerable debate upon the advantage or disadvantage arising from the measurement of the town, finally agreed to go on and measure, provided that the committee for the aggrieved party would assist, who were accordingly notified, but seemed averse to a measurement. And then, let's see. Then the question was put to see if the town would direct their assessors to assess the town a sum of £300, for which was granted upon the adjournment of the meeting. It passed in the negative. And they just added to be made in a separate rate, and then it passed. So Mossman is nowhere in this. So how did he do that? So even though we hit the goal for restoration, there's still preservation, figuring out when and how to display it. So I just want to pitch the importance of this map. We're one of the only towns that has a previous map, one of the only rural towns that has a map before the 1795 map. And this was a map drawn by the people on the west side to say, we need a meeting house on the west side of the river. But it's just a rectangle, no roads. It has the river because that was important to their argument for building a meeting house on the west side. And then this is just really wonderful. This is the pile of rocks between Eaton and General Nexon. I mean, it's just, and there's 30 lines of this, and then there's more lines of it, and that is very valuable. And to have a nice, clean image, I mean, you can see that this is bent and stained, and it would be much easier to read if it were all after it gets restored. And that's where we are. I would love to hear questions.